Hello everyone, I am Mukesh, a second year MBBS student from GMCS Sundargarh. Today I am going to discuss on one shot about the water soluble vitamins of vitamins chapter of the biochemistry book. Let's discuss about the first vitamin, that is vitamins B1s or the thiamines. The vitamin B1 and thiamines main source is the aleurone layer of the cereals, that is food grains like wheat and rice, and the coenzyme form for the vitamin B1 is TPP, which stands for the thiamine pyrophosphate. And TPP is one of the most important coenzyme for the carbohydrate metabolisms. We will see in the subsequent section of this video. And if you say about the coenzyme from TPP is formed by the TPP transferase, that is thiamine is converted into thiamine pyrophosphates with the help of TPP transferase and relation of ATP to AMP. Okay. Similarly, there are some roles of the vitamin B1s like pyruvate to acetyl CoA in carbohydrate metabolism where PDH enzymes require coenzyme TPP. Similarly, in Krebs cycles, alpha ketoglutarate is converted into succinyl CoA with the help of TPP as coenzymes. Similarly, there is a transketolase activity which is present in the HMP1 pathway that's required TPP as a coenzymes. These three mostly important for the carbohydrate metabolisms which have a role of thiamines, and these three most important role of the thiamines for the carbohydrate metabolism. And if we say about the deficiency manifestation of the vitamin B1s, that is mostly causes beriberi. Beriberi is nothing but weakness, where the anorexia, dyspepsia and heaviness and weakness is present. If we say about the beriberi, this is of four types. One is wet beriberi, dry beriberi, infantile beriberis and Wernicke-Korsakoff syndromes. Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome is also called cerebral beriberi, which is most important for the exam point of view. And if you say about the wet beriberi is mostly related with the cardiovascular manifestation. And the cardiovascular manifestation it presents, there must be the edema of the legs, face and trunks, as there is a compromise of the heart that's lead to edema of the legs, face and the trunks. And there will be the distended neck veins will be visible from superficially. This is the three main characteristic of the wet beriberi. If you say about the dry beriberi, CNS manifestation is present, and infantile beriberi mostly due to the child having deficiency of thiamine during pregnancy, that leads to infantile beriberi. And if we say about the Wernicke-Korsakoff syndromes is also called cerebral beriberi. It characterized by the mnemonics GOA-MP, where G stands for global confusion, O is ophthalmoplegia, A is ataxia, and M for the memory loss, and P for psychosis. Okay, so biochemical test for the transketolase activity is checked for the biochemical test, that is HMP1 pathway. If there is decrease in the transketolase activity, there is the deficiency of thiamine. Okay, so more carbohydrate diet, more will be the thiamine requirements. So if we intake carbohydrate increases, that means we require more thiamine for the metabolism. Let's see next vitamin, that is riboflavin. It is the first enzyme to be isolated in the pure state. Coenzyme form of the riboflavin is FAD and FMN, where FAD stands for flavin adenine dinucleotide and FMN stands for flavin mononucleotides. Deficiency of the riboflavins leading to the not naturally lead to deficiency, as natural deficiency of riboflavin in men is uncommon because it is synthesized by the intestinal flora. And it deficiency causes glossitis that means the gloss means the tongues, and itis means mostly inflammation, that is inflammation of the tongues. Magenta color tongues, that means color of the tongue is converted to orange, where chillosis, fissured lips, angular stomatitis, that means angle of stomatitis of the mouth, and circumvernal vascularization. These are the findings of the riboflavin deficiency. Okay, so let's see next, that is niacin. Niacin is also called telegraph preventing factor of Goldberger. Coenzymes for the niacin is the NAD plus and NADP plus, where NAD plus is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NADP plus is the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, as we already know about this. And dietary source is liver, peanuts, whole cereals, legume and fish. RDA for the niacin is 20 mg per day. Niacin deficiency lead to pellagra, where pellagra is rough skin generally, more common in female than male because estrogen interfere with the tryptophan metabolisms. That's why we also know that a tryptophan, 60 mg of tryptophan converted to 1 mg of niacin. So estrogen interfere with this metabolism that lead to the deficiency of niacin, more common in the females. And pellagra is result from the deficiency of niacin as well as the tryptophan. Okay, pellagra is characterized by the 3D, where dermatitis, diarrhea, and dementia. Dermatitis is the skin problem, and diarrhea is the GIT, where the dementia is the memory loss. Here, the dermatitis is a characteristic findings that is increased pigmentation around the neck, that is sun exposed area, that is called Kajal's necklace. Kajal's necklace is most related with the pellagra. Okay, so if you say about the causes of the niacin deficiency, that is first is dietary deficiency of tryptophan. Tryptophan deficiency. Tryptophan deficiency mostly seen in the maize eating people. That means maize eating people have niacin in bound form that is not available for the conversion into the NADP plus and NADP plus. That's why maize eating people have a deficiency of the niacin. Similarly, in sorghum people, leucine content is high. That leucine inhibit the QPRT enzyme that inhibit the niacin to NADP plus conversion. Similarly, in tryptophan to niacin, where the kynurenine enzyme is PLP dependent. So this is the important one, where the deficiency of one vitamin causes the deficiency of other vitamins. B6 deficiency lead to B3 in the tryptophan metabolism, where the isoniazide inhibits the PLP formation, that is the formation of the vitamin B6 is hampered, that leads to the deficiency of B3. Okay, what is the Hartnoff's disease? Hartnoff disease is the defective tryptophan absorption from intestine, more urinary excretion from tryptophan. That means tryptophan ability is decreases, that lead to the niacin deficiency. Whereas the carcinoid syndromes, even syndromes where tryptophan is more metabolized towards the serotonin production rather than niacin. That's why increased production of serotonin, and there is really the decreased production of niacin. Niacin lead to deficiency of niacin. Let's see next vitamin, that is vitamin B6, where vitamin B6 exists in three forms, that is pyridoxine, pyridoxal, and pyridoxamine. Where the pyridoxine is alcohol form, pyridoxal is the aldehyde, and pyridoxamine is on the amine form. And the active forms for the vitamin B6 is pyridoxal phosphate, that is PLP, and it has also some roles in important reactions like transamination reactions, where plays important role. Similarly, decarboxylation reaction. Decarboxylation, where the removal of CO2 takes place with the help of PLP as a coenzyme. So glutamate is converted into GABA, histidine is converted into histamines. These are the important neurotransmitters which have roles in our normal function of the body. 5-hydroxytryptamine is converted into serotonin, similar reaction PLP dependent. And also sulfur containing amino acid requires PLP as a coenzyme. Homocysteine plus serines, when the gives rise to cystathionine, presence of cystathionine synthase, which is PLP dependent. Similarly, in the cystathionase, which converts cystathionine to homoserine and cysteine, is also a PLP dependent enzyme. So if there is a deficiency of PLP, that leads to the accumulation of homocysteine in the blood, that leads to rise to homocysteinemia. So in treatment of homocysteinemia, we can give the vitamin B6 as a treatments. And if you say about the heme synthesis, where the heme synthesis is the rate limiting step, that is the ALA synthase. Glycine plus succinyl CoA gives us delta aminolevulinic acids, which is a PLP dependent. So if there is really the deficiency of PLP, that lead to microcytic hypochromic anemia. And similarly, if we say about the glycogenolysis, where the breakdown of glycogen to the glucose is takes place, which is also the rate limiting enzyme, that is phosphorylase, is PLP dependent. Where the if we say about the overall body utilization of PLP, that is 70% of the PLP is utilized in case of the glycogenolysis. And if you see about the neurological manifestation, that is convulsions. Convulsion is nothing but the increased excitation of the brains, which is results due to the decreased production of GABA. As we know that GABA is a decarboxylation reaction, where the GABA glutamate is converted into PLP. So if there is a deficiency of GABA, that means a decrease in the inhibitory neurotransmission, that ultimately lead to the increase in excitatory neurotransmitter, that lead to the convulsion, where the PLP also help in the myelination. Let's see next vitamins, that is pantothenic acid, that is vitamin B5. So pentose mean everywhere, that means this is that vitamins which is present in everywhere, that means in vegetables, animals, and everywhere you will find. And also it is synthesized in our body by the intestinal flora. That's why pantothenic acid vitamin deficiency is generally not seen. And the active form of the coenzyme form is the coenzyme A, where the types, if you say acetyl CoA, succinyl CoA, HMG CoA, or the acyl CoA, these are the some types of the pantothenic acids active forms. And if deficiency of pantothenic leads type to burning food syndromes, this burning food syndrome was discovered by the Gopalan, an Indian scientist. And source for the pantothenic acid is not required, as we know that it is normally synthesized by our normal bacterial flora in intestine. This is nothing, just small about the small information about pantothenic acid. It not requires too much information about this. Let's see about the biotins, that is vitamin B7's rela. Okay, vitamin B7's mainly responsible for the carboxylation reactions. There is a mnemonics called ABC, where A stands for ATP, B for biotin, and C for CO2. For the carboxylation reaction with dependent on biotin require ATP, biotins and CO2. This is the biotin dependent carboxylation reaction. There is one example, that is pyruvate carboxylase. Mostly you see and you'll get about this in the gluconeogenesis, where pyruvate is converted into oxaloacetate with the help of biotin dependent enzymes with the ATP and CO2. There is an important concept, that is biotin antagonist. We will see about the avidin and biotin reactions, where egg whites contain avidin, that is a protein ones, where egg yolk contains biotin, that is vitamins ones. So avidin has a great affinity for the biotin. So one molecule of avidin bind with the four molecules of the biotin and make it unavailable. So intake of raw egg causes biotin deficiency. As you know that avidin is the protein one and biotin is the vitamin one, they will bind to each other when we take the raw eggs. But if we take a boiled egg, there will be the denaturation of proteins. As you know, when the heat is applied, the protein get denatured. That means avidin is now cannot binds with biotin, and the biotin vitamin is available for us. That's why taking of raw egg causes biotin deficiency, but boiled egg cannot causes biotin deficiency. Okay, so the deficiency of the biotin is not necessary for the exam point of view. That symptoms like dermatitis, atopic glossitis, hyperesthesia, and the muscle pain. And the source is normal gut flora like pantothenic acids. Let's see about the next vitamin, that is vitamin C. Vitamin C is also known as. Let's see about the folic acid, that is vitamin 9, not vitamin C. Here the folic acid is derived from the folium, which leaves of vegetable. Mostly you know the vegetarians people do not have a folic acid deficiency. It is found in the leafy vegetables. Active form for the vitamin B9 of the folic acid is tetrahydrofolic acids. Let's see about the formation of tetrahydrofolic acid. As you know that folic acid is converted into dihydrofolic acids with the folate reductase, and dihydrofolic acid is converted to tetrahydrofolic acid with the help of dihydrofolate reductase. Here it is NADPS dependent reactions, and this plays an important role in our pharmacology point of views, where many drugs act on the dihydrofolate reductase or the folate reductase, where our many anti-cancerous drugs also act on this. So this plays important for the conceptual point of view. And if we say about the causes of the folate deficiency, that is pregnancy, where pregnancy there is with the increased demand of folic acids. As you know that folic acid is essential for the DNA formation or DNA synthesis. So in fetal development, it requires ailment is increases that lead to deficiency during pregnancy, and defective absorption, if there is any defect in the GID, that will also lead to the folate deficiency. And hemolytic anemia, where there is the lysis of the RBC, where the dividing cell requires more DNA synthesis. That means there will be more requirement of folic acid, that also lead to the deficiency of the folic acid. And similarly, there is a concept called folate trap, where the folate get trapped and not converted into tetrahydrofolic acids. There is the methyl tetrahydrofolic acids, which converted into tetrahydrofolic acid with the help of vitamins B12. And this is the irreversible steps. That's why for the conversion of methyl tetrahydrofolic acid to tetrahydrofolic acid, you require vitamin B12. If there will be the deficiency of vitamin B12, that's ultimately due to the deficiency of the tetrahydrofolic acid. This is nothing but called as folate trap, and it's most important, mostly asked in the exams. So, okay, if you say about the deficiency manifestation of the folic acid, that are mainly 2 or 3, that is reduced DNA synthesis, where the DUMP is converted to DTP by thymidylate synthase enzyme, where if there will be the defect in the tetrahydrofolic acids, that requires as a coenzyme for this convergence, that lead to the reduced DNA synthesis. This leads to the DNA maturation lags behind cytoplasmic maturation. Similarly, in microcytic anemia, nuclear maturation lags behind the cytoplasmic maturation, what I say in the reduced DNA synthesis. And anemia will be present, and also leukopenia and thrombocytopenia. That means the WBC count also decreases and thromboplatelet count also decreases. As you know, this all requires folic acid for their maturation. And if you say about the pharmacological point of view, there is a methotrexate which inhibits dihydrofolic reductase, which is anti-cancerous drugs and given in the treatment of the cancers. And also one is example sulfonamides, antibiotics. Okay, this also antibiotic given for the this inhibitor folate reductase. These two important plays important role, mostly asking also reasoning type of question, why methotrexate, role of methotrexate in folic acid metabolism. So next, see about the vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is also called cobalamin, extrinsic factor of the castells or the anti-pernicious anemia factors. Functional coenzymes form is mostly methyl cobalamin and adenosyl cobalamin, where methylcobalamin is methyl B12 and the adenine 12. Storage form for the adenosyl B12, absorption of B12 takes from ileums. So there is role in the homocysteine methyl transferase and methyl folate traps of the vitamin B12. And if you see about the vitamin B12 deficiency, there is the deficiency of nutritional, that is vegetarians of low socioeconomic classes. Okay, that you know that the vitamin B12 mostly present in the non-veg foods like meat, chickens, eggs, and that's why in low socioeconomic classes there will be the deficiency of vitamin B12. So there is decreased absorption, resection of the ileum, and malabsorption syndromes, and there is also one concept of pernicious anemia, where the autoantibody produced against our parietal cell that lead to the decreased synthesis of intrinsic factor which is required for the absorption of vitamin B12 that lead to the pernicious anemia, and also in pregnancy increased demands of B12 leading to the decreased availability of B12 for the others. Okay, these four are the B12 deficiency, and deficiency manifestation of the vitamin B12, that is folate trap, we have already discussed in folic acid metabolism. And if you say about there is megaloblastic anemia, that means the size of the RBC increases. As already we know that B12 deficiency ultimately lead to the folic acid deficiency that causes the nuclear maturation lag behind the cytoplasmic maturation. That means there will be the cytoplasmic maturation will be present but nuclear maturation not present, that leading to the megaloblast or the macrocytic anemia. And there will be the elevated homocysteine levels. As you know that this is the irreversible step and conversion of methyl tetrafolic acid to B12 methylcobalamin, and homocysteine is converted to methionine. This reaction is catalyzed by B12 dependent. So if there will be the deficiency of B12 that lead to the accumulation of homocysteine that causes the elevated homocysteine level. And there is another concept that is subacute combined degeneration. As you know that the vitamin B12 has a role in the myelin formation, that means demyelination of cerebral cortex as well as the dorsal column and pyramidal tract of spinal cord. Since both in sensory and motor system is affected, called combined degeneration, that's why it is called subacute combined degeneration. That means mostly there is a defect in the myelination of the nerve fibers that leading to the subacute combined degeneration of the nerves or the spinal cord. Okay, here the one is thing Romberg signs positive, that means when person closes his eyes on standing that felt down. And there is Babinski signs, which Babinski signs, there is the great Babinski signs also positives. And this is all about vitamin B12 deficiency in shortly. And if you say about the vitamin B6, that is ascorbic acid, just see about the roles of the vitamin B6 in our metabolism, that is collagen synthesis, which plays an important role by the cross linking of the collagen. Hydroxylation of proline and lysine plays an important role for the cross linking, which requires vitamin C. Reversible oxidation reduction reaction, as you know the vitamin C is helpful in the antioxidant property. Iron metabolism, whereas vitamin C increases the absorption of irons from the intestine. And with hemoglobin is converted into hemoglobin with the vitamin C, whereas the folic acid is converted to tetrapolis with the vitamin C. And steroid synthesis require vitamin C. Steroid synthesis, generally adrenal cortex have a plenty amount of vitamin C, that indicates that the steroid synthesis also requires vitamin C. Antioxidant property, we know about this. And if you see about the deficiency of vitamin C, that is scurvy. Gross deficiency of vitamin C result in scurvy. Age is about 6 to 12 months of age, where the hemorrhagic tendency increases due to defective collagen maturations and some minor injury leading to bleed. Petechia and ecchymosis are the two words which you should remember for the exam point of view. Where petechia is a small red spot on the skin when pressurized, and ecchymosis is a hematoma, large area of subcutaneous bleeding. Subcutaneous bleeding, it is mostly the not bleed outside, just subcutaneous bleed. And there will be the bleeding gums, there will be the defective bone maturation and increased chance of fracture as there is a defect in the collagen maturation, and nail are the spoon shape and ruptures easily. Let's discuss about a small topic, that is difference between the fat soluble vitamin and the water soluble vitamins. As you know that the fat soluble vitamins are storage can be stored, but water soluble vitamins are not stored. And one is exception, that is vitamin B12 is stored in the livers. So let's see some about this. Here the carrier protein is present. Fat soluble vitamin require carrier protein, but the water soluble vitamin does not require any carrier proteins, where the deficiency manifests only when store are depleted. That means, as you know that the other is the person storage is possible, that means only the manifestation is present when their store is depleted. But here the repeatedly manifest as there is no storage, where the storage site is liver. Here is no storage site except vitamin B12 which gets stored in the liver. And if you say about the toxicity mostly present in these fat soluble vitamins but absent in the water soluble vitamins. And if you say about the treatment method, that means single large dose may prevent the efficiency where the water soluble regular dietary supplement is required. This is all about the vitamins, water soluble vitamins, and now I'm going to discuss all about fat soluble vitamin in the next video. Thank you everyone.